Niggas got to get together all over this nation. I'm talking about not just regular defenders. I'm talking about street niggas. I'm talking about niggas that call themselves gangsters. Real gangsters.
Griselda Blanco, aka the godmother of cocaine. She was a Colombian drug trafficker who terrorized and flooded the streets of Miami in the 1970s and 80s. Blanco's life of crime began in childhood. Born in 1943, Blanco moved with her mother, a prostitute, to Medellin, Colombia, when she was around 3 years old. She was often beaten and endured years of sexual abuse at the hands of her mother's clients. The cycle of violence and abuse inspired Blanco to run away from home and roam the streets. Griselda grew up in poverty. At the time, Medellin was considered the most dangerous city in the world. Blanco became friendly with low-level criminals and committed petty crimes to stay alive. It's said at age 11, she helped kidnap a boy, and after his wealthy family refused to pay the ransom, she fatally shot him. And to earn money for survival, she pickpockets and became a sex worker. While still a teenager, Griselda married a small-time criminal, and the couple had 3 children. However, the couple divorced, and Blanco ordered a hit on his life, resulting in him being murdered several years later. But her next relationship changed her life forever. In the early 70s, she began a relationship with a drug trafficker, Alberto Bravo. The two eventually tied the knot. It was through Alberto she became involved in the cocaine trade. With New York City at their base, their enterprise exploded overnight, cutting into sizable shares and profits of the Italian mafia. The two trafficked massive quantities of cocaine into the United States. Blanco was the first to use multiple sources of supply so she could always keep the cocaine pipeline full. Blanco also used sexy lingerie with secret compartments to smuggle the drugs. The couple orchestrated an elaborate and profitable operation. However, facing drug charges, Blanco returned to Colombia in 1975. That year, she discovered her husband was stealing money, which led to a shootout between the two, resulting in her second husband's death, which crowned her the Black Widow, making her the leader of the entire criminal enterprise. Free to rule as she saw fit. In 1978, she married a well-known bank robber named Dario and gave birth to her 4th son, Michael Corleone Blanco, whom she named after Al Pacino's character in The Godfather, but later had his father, her 3rd husband, killed for trying to flee to the United States with their child as well. For several years, Blanco continued running operations from Colombia, smuggling coke into the U.S. on a ship called Gloria. By late 1970, Griselda Blanco moved to Miami, a city popular for winter vacations for families and snowbirds. But cocaine, Cubans, and Colombians brought a murderous blizzard into the city. In the 1970s and 80s, the narco world was dominated by men. It was the explosion of the cocaine cowboys. Blanco, who stood only 5 foot tall, was the exception. She sought to eliminate all her competition and turn the city of Miami red into a bloody war zone. Griselda surrounded herself with big steppers and heavy hitters. As she watched the money and the body count in Miami pile up, she ordered countless hits, which her men often carried out in heavily armored vans with gun ports cut into the sides. Seeking to eliminate her competition, she displayed a vicious and ruthless campaign in the streets of Miami. Griselda ordered people to be murdered as common as families ordered pizza, many of which were committed by gunmen on motorcycles, a tactic she said to have invented. Most of the murders she ordered took place in broad daylight, including a shootout at a local mall in 1979. She did horrible stuff, decapitations, cutting people into pieces and having their bodies disposed of on the side of the road. Drug kingpins were afraid of her precisely because of her toughness. Blanco had those that owed her money assassinated. And if she didn't feel like it, she had a creditor murdered. Innocent pedestrians were often caught in the crossfire. In 1981 alone, there were 621 murders in Miami. People described it as a Wild West situation. They didn't have enough space in the morgue, so they brought in refrigerator trucks to store the bodies, according to reports. She trafficked well over 300 kilos of cocaine monthly, earning upwards of $80 million a month. She also enjoyed a lavish luxury lifestyle of luxury homes and cocaine parties. Targeted by rivals and fearing for her life, Blanco moved to California in 1984. However, the following year she was arrested and taken to New York to face the 1975 drug charges. Found guilty in 1985, she received the maximum sentence of 15 years in prison. Though she reportedly continued to run her empire while incarcerated, during this time, officials looked to press additional charges against Blanco, who was implicated in more than 200 murders. In 1994, after one of her hitmen, George, agreed to testify against her, Blanco was charged with 3 murders, including the fatal shooting of a former enforcer's 2-year-old son, who was killed regarding a failed attempt on his father's life. Prosecutors were seeking the death penalty, but Ayala's credibility was undermined when it was revealed that he had been having phone sex with secretaries in the prosecuting attorney's office. One of the women claimed that she was acting on orders of the prosecutor, who denied the charges. In 1998, Blanco pled guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence. And 6 years later, she was released and deported to Colombia. Blanco reportedly retired from a life of crime, but in 2012, she was killed by a gunman on a motorcycle as she left a butcher shop. She was one of few women to attain such power in the drug game. While Blanco and Pablo Escobar were enemies in real life, in death, her final resting place is only 120 steps away from his grave. Man, Mafia News family, we done touched over 500 subscribers. I appreciate all y'all. Please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and make sure you stay posted with that notification bell so you can stay up on all the latest videos and content. 100.